What's going on? I'm Bobby J with City Chapters. I'm the host of the podcast. And today we got Chapter 18 with Joel Barbour, my man, my brother, my good friend. He is the owner of the Great PNW, which is a lifestyle clothing brand that represents the Pacific Northwest. If you don't know, I don't know where you're living, but it's probably not around here. So, this man's done collabs with Rainier Beer, Seahawks, Smokey The Bear. He has other teams on the way I'm not going to mention because I don't know if I'm able to, but he's got big things coming. He always does, always has. I mean, ever since this brand started, it's been running tough, and it's a monster now. It's not stopping, and it's setting the culture for the Pacific Northwest really in a lot of ways. At least in their world, it is. Like, they have such a big following. It's an honor to have him on here. That's all I got to say. I'm going to keep it short like that, but it's a pleasure to have you on, Joel. Thank you for being here, man.
Oh yeah, of course. I know it was funny because we were chatting earlier, a few minutes ago, how it's funny to have like this, real formal conversation because this is what we do all the time.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun though. So.
Yeah. It's funny, like kind of in an official light, because we're always at your office just chopping it up. And,
yeah.
I'm always trying to soak up game from you. So I just, when I started the podcast, obviously you were one of the people I knew that I wanted to have on that's a heavy hitter, like somebody that's like big time. You're big time to me. You know what I mean? I know you're humble as hell.
Yeah, you and my kids. That's big time. Yeah.
But, you're doing something amazing, man. And there's not many people from Spokane that are doing something so intrinsic to our culture. Yeah. So I just want to acknowledge that, man, and just, thank you for your friendship, bro.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
So let's get a little bit of background on you. You grew up in Hilliard, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Grew up in Hilliard.
Yep. You want me to start with that?
Elaborate a little bit about growing up there.
I mean, it was awesome. It was, I believe Hilliard might still be the poorest zip code in Washington State. I know it was at one point. It might still be, but when you're a kid, you don't know any different. And looking back, like even like right now, like my whole family, I still have family there, but so much pride in like being from Hilliard. Like I love it. Like I just found out within like the last 6 months, like my mom was telling me like we were on welfare at one point. Like when I was born, we were on welfare. Like we were really poor. Like I knew we had a lot of hamburger helper, and my friends, I'm not kidding you, Bobby. One of my buddies, and I didn't think this was weird. Went to go stay at night at his house, and their kitchen table didn't have a leg. There was a car tire, like where the fourth leg should be. And there was like, cupboard drawers missing and stuff. And I didn't think it was weird. I was like, we were just all poor and we didn't know any different. None of our cups matched. And like, you just rode our bikes everywhere. And it was awesome. And I went to Cooper Elementary. I think the walk was probably, and it was funny. It was like a mile. Literally, it was uphill. And it really definitely gave me perspective as I got older. Because when I was like in sixth grade, my family moved us up to Meade, and all of a sudden, it was very odd. It was odd. It was like it was completely different. It was like big houses. Like I don't know. I don't know. Someone must have switched. My parents still stayed working for the same companies, and like maybe my dad got a big promotion or something. It was never talked about or anything. But all of a sudden, we had like this bigger house, and like Grayson, who owns Bison Printing with me, like his dad's traveling all over. My other friend Pat, like his parents own their own business, and like it was a weird world. All of a sudden, we're going to like North Park, they're like, oh, do you guys want to go to the club? I'm like, what's the club? They're like, you just go and like swim and like play basketball.
Throw basketballs around.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? It was wild. It was really, really weird. But like at the same time, like I was still this kid from Hilliard, and all of a sudden just kind of thrown into this like really different. A lot of my friends, it was just a totally different like lifestyle. And this is like at 12 years old, probably, but we just connected over skateboarding. Rollerblading was big at the time, riding bikes, and then that turned into motocross. And but yeah, so like growing up in Hilliard, I mean, bikes getting stolen all the time, garages getting broken into, cars getting broken into, and it wasn't weird. Like it was just like, oh yeah, all our stuff got stolen. Oh, bikes got stolen again.
Kind of another day.
Yeah, like going to friends' houses and seeing like domestic violence and like parents who's, you know, they had multiple like boyfriends in and out, and it wasn't, you know, a lot of uncles and cousins living with them, and it just wasn't a weird thing. And it was just looking back, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I'm glad that's how we grew up. Like yeah, I love it. Like and a lot of like the roots of why my brothers, like I have 2 younger brothers and we're all super close. That's because like my uncles and my dad and his buddies were super close. And my whole life I've heard stories of the HHR, which they were known as the Hilliard Hellraisers. And which is why when I had to do an LLC for my commercial real estate stuff, it's called HHR Properties. And it's funny because people ask me that sometimes, like, what's HHR Properties? Like at the bank or something. I get to explain it. And I'm like, I mean, how contradictory to like owning real estate and like the Hilliard Hellraisers, right? So, but yeah, like I couldn't be more thankful to like, I think it wasn't fed a silver spoon in a lot of ways, you know. I definitely have had advantages in life for sure, but literally born into welfare in Hilliard, and my parents were just really, really hardworking people. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that was kind of growing up in Hilliard. So,
do you have one childhood story or experience that like specifically ties you to what you do today?
No, I mean, overall, I think just overall my upbringing, I wouldn't say there's like this one thing. I think that my work ethic, the only thing I can pin it to was my dad. Like I still like, it's such a memory burned into my brain because my dad was an electrician. So like a trade like that, you're like on the ground, like wiring stuff up, I'm assuming, like on the job site by like 6, 7 a.m. You know, so when my dad's out the door, sometimes I would hear the door shut. I'm just going to say like, it's like 6 a.m. And I would wake up out of bed and I loved running, and like my dad's getting into his truck. I'm like, I'd open the door, you know, probably in my underwear. Bye, Dad. He's like, you know, bye, I love you, you know, and like those memories, and it's dark out. Like those are, and it's funny because as a dad now, because my dad used to come home, I remember he would just lay on, he'd be so exhausted. And I'm like, let's play Legos. And he's like, I need a minute. And then I realized like, oh, it's because he was like working his ass off all day. He just wanted some time to like be on the couch for 20 minutes, you know. For sure. But he was always super present. Both my mom and dad, super present in my life, always supported anything me or my brothers wanted to do, left, right, center, whatever it was. Yep, we support it. They never try to steer us into like, do this sport, don't do this sport, join this club, do Boy Scouts, anything. Like they really have, and they always, good or bad, they've just supported us and let us learn from our own mistakes. I mean, I'm sure they've watched fucking train wrecks in all of our life and just like, yeah, they'll learn from it, you know? Because also it's like the way we are. It's like, are we actually going to listen to them? We're always going to do our own thing anyway. So
yeah. Well, I think that's smart parenting from, you know, what I've experienced as far as my, you know, being forced to do something kind of will just push you further into whatever it is you want to do and they don't want you to do. Yeah. I'm just going to do that more then, right? And so I think from my experience of seeing good parenting is like when you allow them just to kind of go do their thing. I'm not saying my parents were bad parents by any means. They're doing the best they could. But my friends that had parents like yours, like they hardly did any of the bad stuff that me and my other friends that were like rigid with, you know, parents. Like, it was, you know, you just like, well, I don't really want to do that because I can, but I don't want
Yeah.
to. But if you're like told, no, you shouldn't, you're like, I think I'm going to do that, you know?
Oh, dude, 100%. I will say, I mean, we got in a lot of trouble. I was in the back of cop cars more times than I can remember.
Yeah, for sure.
But a lot of just stupid shit. Like, I'm going to break this window with a rock, or I'm gonna write dick on the side of this building with spray paint, or just stupid stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
of course, just being boys.
Yeah. So, I mean, shoplifting, you know,
for sure.
Stuff like that. But for the most part, and even my parents still today, they're just super chill. Like,
yeah.
You know, but I mean, I got my ass beat as a kid. I will say that. Like, when I
had a few too, for sure.
Oh yeah, it was almost like my dad. We always joke that my dad just kind of gave up. So Connor's the youngest, Casey's the middle, and I'm the oldest. And I'm like, dude, I got my ass beat more than any of you. And then Casey kind of middle ground. And I think my dad was just exhausted from fucking just spanking asses. He's just like, whatever, Connor, just do whatever the hell you want, you know? So, and we're all 3 years apart. So, I mean, I loved it. I loved growing up in Hilliard. You know, I loved growing up in Meade. You know, so I don't know.
When did your love of art begin? I read that, you know, and you've told me too, that your grandma kind of instilled some
100%.
love for art.
Yeah.
Do you want to share any stories with her and how that kind of all transpired, and kind of how that maybe engaged you into, because I mean, what you do with the PNW is art, like your graphic designs, everything is art, you know, that you create and do, whether it's for other people and brands or for the Great PNW. So did you start like art when you were very young?
Yeah, I did. I know I was always like drawing and stuff as a kid, like most kids, but my grandma did a ton of art, you know, all types of different mediums, you know, acrylic painting, pastels, clay stuff, you know, like, and she actually had a studio in her house. It was amazing, on the South Hill. And but she'd always had us a lot of summers. My brothers and I we go to Spokane Art School, which it's gone now, but it was right next to the Spokane Arena. And she'd be like, yeah, pick out some classes. So we do these art classes. And that was kind of where we got a really deep dive into art that like school doesn't really go to. And then would do art with my grandma. And but then when I was in college, I was like, well, my first year I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I found out the Falls had a graphic design program. I was like, oh, I like art enough. I can just do art on the computer. And and so I signed up. And then like, I want to say for that whole first year, like every single Wednesday afternoon, I like worked with my schedule. I actually went to my grandparents' house, had lunch with my grandparents, and then my grandma and I did art together. It was like the most special year. Like it was probably like my sophomore year. And I got to hang out with my grandma. And I remember one time she helped me, like, she didn't really help me. She was like, here's a space, here's all things you need. And then we would just do art together. She'd do her pieces, I'd be working on something else. But like, literally it was like, I remember I bought like a white foam trucker hat. I'm like, well, how do I get a logo on here? And I like painted it on. So yeah, I mean, that time, so my grandma for sure instilled in me this creativity that I would just assume it is like probably born with. This is innate wanting to be creative, but she gave me the outlet to pursue it, and then went to college for it. So yeah.
Nice.
So.
Didn't you and Grayson have a snowboard website brand?
Oh, dude.
What was that?
That was more Grayson's thing, and it was really, honestly, really fun to listen to Grayson's podcast that you did with him like a year or so ago, and like, because I was in it with him, and like even when he was talking about bison printing, and like I had a totally different perspective than he did, you know. But yeah, so all little businesses we were just doing as kids, and we so it was snowsuperstars.com. Grayson was doing
snowsuperstars.com.
Yeah.
Love it.
And what's funny is like I drew the logo for it.
Yeah, that's
like,
what it was. Okay.
That's what was hilarious. And when Grayson would like hold a competition or sponsor a competition, like I was the one drawing these things up, and then like, dude, this is like digital cameras had just come out, and like Grayson's family had a digital camera, and like we used to actually make people bootleg Mount Spokane season passes, like straight up. because we would buy them. Like our parents would buy them for us.
Yeah.
We'd scan them in. Kids would come over to Grayson's house. We'd take a picture on white, bring it into Microsoft Paint, print it out, grab just one of his dad's random, like a library card that's just like in some stash, glue it, and then just tell kids like, put it in your pass pocket and don't take it out because you could show it. And and like, just don't let that get wet, you know? And I think we were selling season passes for like $20 or something. And that was, and then, but yeah, Snow Superstars, we were posting up videos. It's like pre-YouTube. Grayson was figuring out how to embed videos, and we were shooting everything on like high 8 cameras and then using like Firewire and getting and like editing it. It was an interesting time, you know? And then especially being able to take a digital photo, all of a sudden like, oh, we have a photo of us like doing a backflip. Are you kidding me? Like, it was so cool. And, so that was more Grayson's thing. It wasn't like some moneymaker, but Grayson is like, he's a really smart dude and loves that kind of stuff. So whatever little thing he was doing, you know, I would do some graphics for it. And, and I would just basically help him out with that stuff. And, but yeah, that was totally like his thing. So, yeah. So
was there any other businesses, like ventures that you were involved with, like in high school or prior to the Great PNW?
Not like a formal business. We used to always try to flip stuff on eBay. One of the ones that like put gas in my tank was like, I would just email. I'd go through a motocross magazine and I would email every company like info at like FMF Racing or info at Thor Racing, because I knew like every company has like an info at, right?
Yeah.
And I would say, hey, I'm like a new dealer. And I learned this term, point of sale products, which is like, or displays, right? So it's like stickers, banners, neon signs. And if they were really big, they would, I guess it just really depends on the company. Like sometimes they'd be like, you need to talk to your local rep, which is the appropriate way to do it. Talk to your like Northwest sales rep on this stuff. Like corporate doesn't deal with this. But sometimes I would just, it'd be like a week later, I would just get sometimes boxes, a lot of big thick envelopes full of stickers. Like stickers were like an easy one, right? And then I would package all these together. I'd have like 20 different companies, and like I'm sitting on like thousands of stickers, and I would bundle these companies together because it's kind of hard to acquire all these different companies' stickers, right? Unless you go to a shop and maybe buy them. And I would sell them like, and they'd be different price points. Like, oh, these are big stickers, and there's 30 of them. It's $100 or something. So I get all these stickers for free, bundle them up, put them on eBay, and then out the door. And and like literally was selling free product that I got. You know, that was like no business name or anything like that. I was just like, I don't want to work or get a job, but I need to put gas in my dirt bike and in my truck. You know, I'm 14, 15 years old. Oh, I guess it'd be 16. I guess if I'm driving, but I was doing that even before I was driving. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I used to ride dirt bikes a lot.
Yeah.
Competition too.
Yeah. So I know Casey and I were both sponsored. My little brother Connor, I don't think Connor was. He was like he was younger. But yeah, we used to just it was one of those things that I never thought I would ever stop racing. So yeah, we raced probably from like middle school through high school. And then right at the end of high school, I'm trying to think if maybe it was my junior year, senior year, somewhere around there. We had, so I also wrestled, and it was kind of a little bit of a bummer. Oh yeah, it was going into my senior year. You could qualify for this national tournament in Las Vegas. And I want to say the tournament was in Everett, but I can't remember. But like, so like my buddy, Sam Cecilia, I'm trying to think who else was there. It was pretty much like him and I, really as like seniors going in. A lot of other of our friends who ever like just weren't still wrestling by the time they were going into senior year. But yeah, so we knew like, oh, this was always, because the few senior groups before us, if you went, all of a sudden they're going to Vegas. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. I've never been in an airplane. So like the day before this, I got in a bad motorcycle accident. I've been in two.
You've been in two. Okay.
One was on a dirt bike. One was when I was hit by a car a few years back. But so yeah, qualified for nationals. And then I was out dirt biking with my coaches and stuff out at 7 Mile. And I hit a jump that I'd hit, I'm not kidding you, probably 30 times before, this like step down. So it's nice, just floater, long landing. And I remember even like being in the parking lot and joking about a guy who like crashed on him. Like, how did that guy fall on that thing? Like, it was just a nice, easy floater. And I don't know what happened. I like just didn't hit the gas off the lip. It was, I mean, it probably looked hilarious, but it dislocated my hip and broke my shoulder. I don't know. I just got bucked up and pretty much just scorpioned. Like, dude, my bike was over top me, and I just watched a kid break his femur out the racetrack like a week before, and I just have this burning across the top of my femur, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I broke my femur. And I can't move. Like, I'm like pinned to the ground because I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was this shoulder was broke, this hip was dislocated, I believe, or vice versa. But I'm like, I can't move. And it was just like, the dust settles, they get an ambulance out there. I will say that's probably the most pain I've ever been in my life. Because you're in this bumpy road and my hip's out of socket. And the only way I can explain this is, your femur bone pops out of socket. And now I have this bone that feels like a hot knife on the inside of my ass cheek trying to rip out. It was so painful. I just remember I was like yelling. I'm like, and then kind of get in the road and then go to the hospital. I was in a wheelchair for a little bit. Long story short, the reason I talk about the wrestling is then I was in a wheelchair and then we were supposed to go to this wrestling tournament in like 3 months. Yeah. And I was so hell bent. I'm like, I'm going to get better, blah, blah. Dude, not even close. Like, I was just out of a wheelchair. I was still like limping around. I still went to Vegas and it was crazy to be like, probably 16. Yeah, because I graduated. I was 16. I wasn't even 17 yet, I don't think. Maybe. But anyway, so I still went to Vegas with my buddies and watched them. But yeah, so wrestled in high school and then raced motocross and then raced a little bit after that, but I had no desire. It honestly, like, it was weird. Like, that kind of wiped my desire out. Like, I got
experiencing that.
Truly, like, scared it was going to happen again.
Yeah.
It was weird. It really sucks. It was something that I thought I was going to do forever, So.
I've said this about snowboarding and skateboarding, like some of those sports that you get heavy into. And then there comes a point where you have to determine how much you really love it, right? You love it. And you loved racing, but those guys that can go through something like that and keep going, and it's no jaunt at you for not continuing it. You know what I'm saying? Because like I've taken hits snowboarding and I'm like scared shitless to do something like that again, and getting past that place of like, where's this really going to? Yeah. What's the reward of me like going through this and
especially
continuing this?
As you're older, like, skateboarding now, I'm like, things hurt way longer. When you're young and people tell you like, oh, I used to skateboard, but now when I fall, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, old man? Yeah. Somebody who's like in their 30s.
For sure.
And now you're like,
dude, I went and skated with Mike and them one time at their warehouse. Yeah. Like, I was just trying to like get my heel flips and kick flips down again. Yeah. And like the next day, dude, I could like barely lift my legs. Like my hips were like all sorts of like tight that I had not experienced because of like all those stabilizer muscles you use skateboarding that you're not used to. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't even do anything but just push around and do some kick flips and heel flips.
Yeah, totally.
It's just funny, because it is different. You could do that all day as a kid and be fine, but
all day. Yeah. All day and it's nothing. You'll slam, nothing. Like,
yeah. Those are serious injuries. I had some dirt bike injuries. Luckily I never got destroyed like that, like breaking or dislocating your hip. I mean, that's crazy. That's a serious one. Because I just went through wilderness first aid, and they're like, if you dislocate your hip or you're like break a femur and you're in the backcountry.
Oh, breaking a femur.
You're,
because you had a gnarly artery right there.
Oh, too, yeah, dude. It could go
bleed out.
Yeah, real quick.
Oof. So thankfully I didn't break my femur. I did later break my femur. Gosh, this is 5 or 6 years ago now. But I got hit by a car on my, I had a Harley. So we kind of transitioned. My brothers and I, all of us, slowly, over the years, didn't dirt bike as much. and then everybody got Harleys,
Yeah, kind of more street bikes.
Yeah.
and-
And it was my dad. What's funny is my dad was the one who kind of pushed both those things. Like one day he just showed up and like, here's dirt bikes. Like he got a dirt bike. We were just all of a sudden we're dirt biking now. And then
Yeah.
like those all kind of went away. And then he was the first one to buy a Harley, and then everybody kind of followed suit, slowly. And but yeah, that came and bit me in the ass too, because I got smoked by a car, Literally, the last thing I remember was left the skate park with a bunch of buddies, dropped one of my buddies off in my old office because he was staying the night there.
Were you at the Hilliard skate park?
Joe Albee.
Joe Albee skate
Yeah.
park? Okay.
Yeah, actually, well, it also happened to be, I host this like competition every year. I think this was year 11. This last year was year 11, called We Run This City. It's like a skateboard video thing. So it was like one of those years. We always do the kickoff at Joe Albee, told everybody, bye, all right, everybody go skate. Here's the challenge list. And last thing I remember is dropping off my buddy Josh Mose, gave him the key to the office. Fucking woke up 4 days later in the hospital, confused as all hell.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't move, couldn't barely open my mouth. Definitely didn't even have the energy to like drink. Like, I was like in a coma. It was wild. Like, I had to learn to walk again. That was probably 10 days out. First it was just like standing up on the edge of the bed and just being like exhausted and just like boom. And then it was funny because then after I took my first steps, I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna be running soon. Like mentally I looked, or physically looked, I mean, I was extremely broken, but mentally I was like, oh, this is, if I can walk after this, but I still go to physical therapy.
Yeah.
Still today.
What injuries did you sustain in that wreck?
Oh man.
It's a lot, I know.
Yeah, it was a laundry list. Yeah, broken femur, dislocated elbow, broken collarbone, broken sternum, broke all my ribs, all of them, some in multiple places. That sucked. I still, which is funny, like I was wearing a helmet and everything, but I, like with headphones in, I still can't hear like high tones like in my right ear, which is like a weird one. And I've had multiple surgeries since then over the years from that accident, but like still my right hand gets numb sometimes. Still sometimes can't feel the feeling in my right foot. And at the same time, like it doesn't really bother me considering I could be fucking dead.
Yeah.
I could be in a wheelchair permanently. And I remember what it was like to be in a wheelchair. Man, like to be in a wheelchair gives you so much more respect for people who are in wheelchairs and how hard the world is to navigate. It's crazy. Like you don't think about it. Even getting into this building, there was like 2 stairs even to get up to the whole stairs. And like, dude, I legit used to like, I was only half of me was broken, but like I would be able to, like, I still had 1 foot and 1 arm. So I was able to go place with my wheelchair, throw it up and hop back in it. But like, if you couldn't do that, like, I don't know what it would take. I don't know if there is an elevator to get up here or whatever, but like.
Right. It's just change. Everything's different.
Yeah. I couldn't even put in my own socks, like, and that sucked. But yeah, so getting hit by the car was like, that was one of the most like life shattering things I've ever had. Instantly, I couldn't work out anymore. I couldn't skateboard anymore. I couldn't ride a dirt bike anymore. Like things that I would do to like kind of just relieve stress. So that was were like my hobbies. Mm-hmm. And instantly now I'm stuck in a bed for like a month, like just withering away. Like I think I left the hospital like close to like just barely over 140 pounds. And like I went in probably over 160. So in the course of like 2 weeks, just dude, my clothes were like hanging off
shriveled.
me. Yeah. It was wild. Wild, and then there was a long road of recovery.
Road. Because I knew you during that time and when it happened. And that's crazy. I remember the story being different. I thought you were like pulling out from a 7-Eleven or something in my head.
Yeah. No, I was. Well,
oh, okay.
Well, I think I would, honestly, I think I might have been, I can't remember if I was going to the 7-Eleven, but it was right there by the 7-Eleven. I was going home on like 14th and Grand almost.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So I was.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Where I was.
So it wasn't by the skate park. You
no,
had
that's
left
just my last
the park.
memory.
Okay.
That was my last memory.
All right.
Like I don't remember the wreck. I don't remember anything.
So it like wiped out the memory from the time you left the park. That was the last time you got up to the hill.
I woke up 4 days later. Yeah.
4 days later.
Dude, it knocked out my memories from like the days before even.
I bet.
Like
yeah.
I was texting with my buddy Ruben and we were talking. He's like, man, yeah. He's like, Patrick and I like brought you lunch or something like the day before. And I was like, oh shit, you did. Whoa. Yeah. Now I remember. And like, and honestly, even after a month, once I was able to like kind of work a little bit again, dude, my head was so foggy, like trying to use Photoshop or Illustrator. And I was just really physically broken on this side too. So I could only work for like an hour at a time. I used to Uber to my office because I couldn't drive.
Yeah.
Work for as long as I could. And then just have to Uber home because they would just get too painful or take a break or lay on the couch. But like, but yeah, so and it just, but trying to use Photoshop and Illustrator, I was like so foggy. Like I'd be like, oh, I got to do this thing. And I couldn't remember. And that's what got really stressful, like really frustrating because it's things that like I knew I know how to do and I couldn't put two together. It was weird.
It's like kind of had to learn everything over again almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the questions that I had about that wreck was, like, what did you learn? What is something you learned about yourself during that recovery after that wreck? Like, what is something that you realized? Is it like, damn, like I have a lot of strength in me to overcome adversity, or like what were some like realizations of getting through that and continuing on to keep building something amazing, great, and not stopping, not letting the trauma of it cripple you mentally, like.
Yeah, you know, there's it's kind of a double-edged sword because I learned a ton about myself during that time. One is I probably work at an unhealthy pace sometimes. I don't think I do day to day. I think in that time of my life, because like things have just been go for the last like 10 years. Like I couldn't, and I didn't really have anybody else to lean on to like do the work. Super cool though. I did have multiple buddies, my buddy Eric Smith and Joey Bittner, like they knew what I went through and they were designers and they knew I physically couldn't design and they just like sent me designs like, hey.
Oh, nice.
And like, it's pretty rad. And I was, and Jesse
Helps
Pierpoint did too. Yeah. And it was like, wow, like that was really cool that they even like when I was in the hospital, I finally get my phone and I can like see and like how many like Facebook and Instagram, like DMs and stuff. Like I was just crying, like text messages, reading through them, like people actually give a shit. Like, and I'm not like the most empathetic person. I mean, obviously if somebody went through that, I would definitely like, if that happened to you, I'd be like, oh fuck, I'd be there. Right. But like, and how many people came and visited, but there's like, you know, the friends of a friend of like people you don't even know. I'm like, this impacts you. Like you care enough to like shoot me a text. Like you care enough to like want to bring me food. That's crazy. You know, and that was like a big one to be like, oh man, okay, like people really, really do care. That was pretty surprising and really just knowing when to slow down. But a big one is like, and I've always been I will say an overly appreciative person for like what I have, always. But I feel like that just took it to a whole other level. Like still now when I go sit down at a movie, like that's one of those things, like I know what it was like to have a cane and struggle. And like, this is kind of a funny story, but like Davis, I was taking my oldest son and he was a little guy at the time, like, and we were going up the escalator. He like dropped his popcorn. He like fell over. His popcorn's spilling out. And I had my hands full and I had like a cane. I physically, like I was having a hard time trying to pick him up. He's up against the glass. He's up against the glass. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck. And this other dad came and grabbed and helped me because he saw like what I was going through. And and then I remember how painful it was just to sit in those chairs. Like it hurt. And those are like comfy ass chairs. And those are times like whenever I go to a movie now, I'm like, I know how far I've come. I know what that was once like. And so there's little triggering things like that, but I think just overall it's like the appreciation level for what I have every single day, feeling like I'm on borrowed time is like
gratitude.
Oh, it's so much more than I had before.
Yeah.
So much more. Makes me, yeah. So
that's good, man.
That's a big one.
I mean, that, that's what a strong person, I think, pulls from a situation like that, not playing the victim, and like, that's just something you don't do. And that's something I really like about you, that I feel is like one of your most strongest traits, admirable traits, is like, you just don't play victim, like no matter what.
Never.
Like, but so many people do, and it's and understandingly so, but you just decide not to. And like, you just like, yeah, man, got in a wreck, keep going. I got up, I was walking. Oh, as soon as I was walking, it's over. I know I'm going to be fine. Like, that's crazy. For some people, that's crazy. Like, it wouldn't be that easy in some people's minds, but yours is just like, I'm up, I'm walking. It's going to be fine.
This is what we do.
We're going to keep going. And that's just like, it's admirable, man. It's and it's inspirational. I'm sure people that listen to this will feel the inspiration from that, because that's crazy. Yeah, you got broken, dog. It's like totally
it's
broken. Like,
I wouldn't wish that happened to me ever again. But
no, of course not. Let's we of course pray that it doesn't. But the fact that it did, and how you got through it and handled it, because I remember we weren't too close at that time, but we knew each other.
Totally.
And I heard about it, and I think I was still at Zome almost.
I think so.
I think I was, because somebody at Zome told me that it happened. I think Braden.
You were at Zome, because it was shortly after that. Because I remember when you.
What year was this then?
2017, maybe 20.
It had to be 2016, because I left there at 2016.
The only reason I know you were still at Zome, because it happened right as I like moved into my spot on Monroe.
Yeah.
And then I will never forget, because you'd always pop in.
Yeah.
When you came by and you're like, I'm leaving Zome. Like, I quit. I knew this is what I needed to do. And I remember you just coming through those doors, just fired up. And I was like,
yeah.
And I think you came straight from Zome to there, to the office.
I think I did.
And I was
actually,
I was like, oh shit. Now what?
I was like, I gotta come talk to you, dog.
Yeah, you're like, I got clients. This is gonna be fine. And like, I was like, oh shit. I was waiting. It's one of those things, like, because we'd meet and have coffee, and I was like, well, it's kind of one of those things, like, you're just waiting for somebody to like, well, I knew it was coming, didn't know when. It's like, and then when you did, it was like, oh fuck yeah, sweet.
With well, when I had Third Kind apparel, the streetwear brand, I didn't really, and obviously that me and you personally talk about city chapters a lot, and I'm always like looking for this higher purpose, right? But the thing I learned from you the most is like, you just got to show up and work, and it'll work itself out. And so I've learned over and over, through my own head, that me working things out, like, that's the key to what it takes. A lot of times, it's good to have a purpose and a mission and a vision, right? But you got to just show up and put in the work.
100%.
And I didn't have really anything like that with Third Kind Apparel. I just wanted to start something. It was after I got out of being locked up. I was like, I'm going to start a company. I don't know what I'm doing. I printed my first shirts on some crappy Gildan t-shirts with like just a crappy graphic design logo that I made, and not even Adobe program. It was like, I don't know, some Mac off design program, right? But once I had city chapters in mind, I was like, I could do this. And man, it's been hella hard. I've been tried, and you've seen me at some of my lowest points in business when I have to come talk to you, but I'm still here, and I'm still making it. And I guess that's all that really matters for me at this point, is I've been able to still maintain. And having this podcast is, I think, a good turning point for me in city chapters, like I've said many times on here, because I just love talking to people in general, and then people that I'm close to too. Like, I've learned a few things about you in this conversation that I didn't really know before, and we talk a lot,
Serious,
so it's really, really cool. All right, we'll move on to another question. I want to kind of just go to the beginning. So you went to graphic design school at the Falls. You then got a job at 7-2, right? Was it kind of
almost
Okay.
correct. I actually first got a job at the Inlander.
Oh, Inlander, that's what it was.
Which is dope because I still work with them.
Yeah.
Literally was texting with Christina this morning.
Yeah. Who is Christina over there?
I think she runs all their events and does all their marketing
Nice.
stuff, but like events coordinator.
Sweet.
She's awesome. Jared and Ted McGregor, like literally, we had the Inlander Best of last year.
Yep.
And like
The annual manual.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Through the annual manual thing. But like the Best of Awards, like I actually got a chance to like tell them like how much it meant to me. Like I will never forget where I was when Jared gave me the call of this. Like I was working at Dutch Bros at the time, and we were always downtown skating at the skate park and going to Dutch Bros. So like I was out front of Dutch Bros, and Jared's like, I want to offer you this job. Dude, I was just like, I'm finally a graphic designer, Like,
How did he even know to call you?
I applied for
You
I
applied.
applied for a job. And this is also funny, is like I applied for the job, didn't hear nothing. And I printed out my portfolio resume. I'm like just trying to get a job there, man. And like, and the graphic design program at the Falls pumps out a lot of good students, and everybody's kind of vying for the same job, right? And so I knew some of the other people probably were too, but like I also knew where I stacked up against a lot of the other students, right? So I'm like, why don't they call me back?
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I was telling my uncle, who he's retired now, but he was a VP of like private banking at some bank, right? So he knows all these people, and he's like, hey, where'd you apply at? I'm like, the Inlander. I go, nobody's calling me back. He's like, Ted owes me a favor. I'll make a phone call.
Yeah.
And I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
If I can get in front of him, I know if I can get in front of him, I can show him this is like what I fucking love this stuff.
Yeah.
Sure enough, phone rings. Can you come in for an interview? I'm like, oh my God, of course. It's just like, it's all those things, like it's all who you know, right?
Yeah.
So I got super fortunate that my uncle does a lot of business with a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I met with Chris Bovey. Chris Bovey was like the creative director at the time. And I remember they're asking me like, so how often do you like use the Adobe programs? I'm like, every day, every fucking day. Like when I wake up, when I go to sleep, like this is like what I love. Mm-hmm. And Wayne Hunt, who I believe he's still there. He might have just left. Wayne was like my boss, and was there for a few months. And then that's when Nick and Tyler, who own 7-2 and 14-4, reached out. I was only at the Inlander for about 2 or 3 months. Fucking loved like every day of it.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, hey, like, so Tyler reached out, Nick Murdo reached out with Jeff Oswald, who was the president of a new company they just started, 14-4. And they were just like, hey, we heard about you. Can you come in for an interview? And back then, the Inlander's design department was like, I swear they were like, whatever's left over in the budget, you guys can buy computers. And it's like, it was just like kind of dingy. It was, now it's not that way. But back then it was very much like a second thought. And you're like, what? Like, we're the ones doing all this design work. And then they bring me up to 14-4, which at the time it's above where's Zona Blanca is. It was up there, right? And I see this just fancy, it's clean. It's a design firm. I'm like, holy crap.
This is nice.
And and then I do the stupid thing of like, I'm not selling out. I'm not. I fucking love Spokane. I don't give a shit about Nintendo and whoever these clients are. I'm going to have to think about it. And they were honestly offering me like twice as much money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I tell Wayne, I'm like, I'm so torn, to the point where like even Jeff hits me back up. He's like, do you want the job or not, dude? Like, like maybe 4 or 5 days later. I think he was like, well, let me come back one more time and like, dude, I'm like 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I eventually actually Wayne, this is where Wayne was really awesome. My boss at Inlander, he just pulls me aside. He's like, Joel, take the job. Because I'm going to step out of boss role. If I'm your brother, take the job. We're never going to be able to pay you that much. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
This is the right move. And that was really the thing of
cool.
like, it was cool of him to do that, you know?
Super cool.
And it's influences like that. Like when you run a company, you're like, I shouldn't have to want hold on to employees. You know, if this isn't like their forever thing, like it's okay.
Yeah.
If this is their thing now, awesome.
This is my thing. This isn't their forever thing. And I think that's important. I think that's smart because, and to be an owner and be like, I really want what's best for my employees.
100%.
Even if it means you no longer being my employee.
Yeah.
You know, like this is what would be better for you. And I see that. And I appreciate you being here, but
dude,
I'm not going to stop you from advancing your life, you know?
And that's Tyler Lafferty, who's the owner of 7-2 with Nick. That was exactly what happened. So I did the Great PNW and I worked at 7-2 for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And when I had to put in like my 2 weeks, like I loved that job. Like a bunch of my buddies worked there. I loved the work. I got to travel and like shoot video and do motion graphics. I really did love it. But the Great PNW was growing to a point I'm like, this just doesn't make sense, you know, and to do both. And that's, I actually had like a big like breakthrough playing with Davis in the backyard. He's real little, and it broke me. I just knew I couldn't do both. And I knew I was going to do both. I'm like, I'm going to do both till it breaks me. I know how to work hard. Putting in the hours isn't a problem. And I got to a point where it broke me. And then, you know, I when I had to tell Tyler I was leaving, like I'm crying. Like I'm like, and Tyler just stood up from his desk. He just gave me a big hug. He's like, this is what we've wanted since you started. And like that right there, this is what we've wanted. Like you've wanted this for me because you know what it's like. To pursue something you're passionate about. And he's just like, he goes, this doesn't have to be 2 weeks. He goes, whenever you're ready, you're not ready in 2 weeks, it's going to be a month, whatever it is. He goes, if it doesn't work out, you have a job here. And I think that's what I try to tell people too. And people think it's so risky to like be an entrepreneur, do your own thing, you know? And I think that to me, I label those very separately. I don't, and people say, can classify however you want, but to be an entrepreneur, I didn't ever see myself as an entrepreneur until I had like multiple businesses. Like, you know, a single. I don't think that's probably the correct way to. I'm sure if you have one business, technically you're an entrepreneur, but like, not the level that I don't see it that way. I don't classify entrepreneurs as you have one business, you have one thing.
I think you got to be careful calling yourself an entrepreneur, right? That's what I believe. Like,
dude,
you can't just be women off because you have a little. Etsy business and I mean maybe you can. People make a lot of money on Etsy, but I think I know what you're trying to say. It's a careful term. Like that term is loaded, I feel.
Totally.
And if you're not loaded with what you do and cash is coming through, like it's hard to be claiming you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, the best way I've heard it worded is like, fuck, if you're you have a business, you're a business owner, okay, is that paying your salary and paying for everything in your life and you're profitable? Okay, then you have a business. If not, you have a really fucking expensive hobby that you're feeding, and you need to look in the mirror and like really have that self-awareness to be like, and that's where you don't have to be fake. You don't have to be something you're not. Like if it's not a business, if you're not, you know, like paying for your life, then it is a side, it's a hobby, you know, and you have another job that's paying your bills.
Yeah.
Because if you were to go do that full time, well, then you'd be in the red, like $30,000. Like, so I guess you'd have a business, you would just have a failing one. So it's like, until it can stand on its own, it's like paying for itself, paying you back. It's. I mean, people do whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't matter what you label it. You can see what it is. You know, the people are like, I'm CEO of this. I'm like, you're CEO of yourself. Of this, like you want to be Mr. Entrepreneur and like be posting inspirational shit. It's like you haven't been through it. You see that more than anything. Like, and I get it. You want to be there, but like knowing about what that's like, seeing all the Gary Vee type shit, you didn't cross those bridges. You don't, and people see right through that bullshit. It's like you're not inspirational because your track record doesn't fucking inspire me. None of your success, like it doesn't. Your proof isn't there. Yeah. You don't have a track record of like, oh, I did this. It's like, oh, okay, you did. Like, So I see
that's
that.
That's why, those are good points, and I agree. And some people might be offended by them, but that's because you're soft.
100% people are fucking soft.
You're soft, and you know it's the truth about you if you're offended by that. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really good points. And in this day and age, like so many people want to act like they're doing so much, and the thing about me and like where I'm at is, I don't really talk to people about what I do or what I'm planning to do, because I compare myself, and luckily somehow, some way, and I think it's, it is because of the type of person I am and what I do. I naturally find and become friends with, like, the universe brings me to people like you. You know what I mean? Like me and you are close friends.
Yep.
I'm blessed to know you because, you're somebody in this town that's doing really big things.
Same.
And you have, welcomed me in with open arms, whether it's just like, hey, like anytime you want to come hang out at the warehouse, please do, brother.
That's why
like,
I gave you a spot when we first built the building. Like, dude, just come here. Like,
and those things meant so much to me, dog. Like, and just to be able to, like, sometimes I'd be there, and there's multiple inspirations I get from going there at times. It can be just being like, look at what this man's created through a clothing brand. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it shows that, the things that I dream about are possible. And, just being in that environment, hanging out with all the boys is always a good time and having fun. But like the thing about, kind of piggybacking off what you were saying too, is like when people ask me, how's City Chapters doing? I'm like, well, that's for you to decide. I don't be like, oh man, we ball. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, oh man, how's the podcast going? I don't know. Did you watch it? Like, that's for you to determine. Like,
totally.
Who have you had on? Like, tell me who you've had on. I mean, it's on YouTube, dude, brother. Like, you can check it out. I'm not going to sit here and tell you.
I don't want to cut you off, but I think
please.
that switch is one of the most important things, really, as, because you're constantly, as a business, you're kind of measured up against like other business where you might be a competitor or something, but like
definitely.
And this is how I view it. Like with business, like your money's got to be right. You got the financials and all that stuff. So money really is the standard of like, are you successful in business? It's like, sweet, are you making money? Are you not making money? Like, well, so that's an real easy way. The numbers do not lie. But then your life is so much different because the currency of your life is happiness and being successful. Well, then you have to define success because success for a business and what you're doing in your life, that's where as an entrepreneur, there's kind of a gray area where the two, I don't know if you'd be like a Venn diagram, right? It's like, well, City Chapters is successful because it's fulfilling to you and you're making the impact that you want to do as who you are personally. And if that's the level of success, and then if you say, okay, if it's City Chapters as a business, you're like, oh, well, we made $10,000 or we lost it, whatever that is. Then other people might say that's success. But if what City Chapters is doing is to exist, not to be some like financial powerhouse, and how does that affect your life? Like I know 100%, like I've made more money than I ever thought I'd make in my life, but I've also been more miserable at those times than I've ever thought.
Really?
Oh, 100%. Like straight up, like leading up to that motorcycle accident, and I wasn't drunk or anything when I was driving my motorcycle, but like I was drinking a lot to an unhealthy level to like, because I wasn't happy, But I've found myself on the flip side, like realizing, well, what does make me happy? And making sure and a lot of that at the time was because I was so tied to the business, the financials of the business dictated my happiness as my life. But then you're like, those can't be connected.
That's a hard one.
They have to be so disconnected. Like, because I would literally see my emotions go from like, oh, November, December, holy fuck, we have so much money coming in, to January, February, and Q1 where we're like losing money. It's perfectly normal for retail. It would literally affect me. And I'm like, I'm the same fucking person. But because I was so tied to the business in an unhealthy way, I mean, now I truly am at a place that obviously I don't want this to happen, but like all this shit, all these businesses could go away. I could lose everything. And it's like, it doesn't worry me because one, like, well, life just keeps marching on.
Yeah.
Would my life be drastically different? Yes. But like, I have an amazing wife and amazing children. Like we could lose our house, whatever we are, we're going to be together, you know, cause that's like true happiness, you know, and that self-awareness of like,
that's beautiful, man.
All this shit.
It's a beautiful self-awareness there because I've struggled with that a lot because how do you determine, because our society teaches us your value as a person comes from how much money you have,
100%.
what you own, what you do as far as business and attention and how you get attention. That's what makes you valuable.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do behind closed doors with your loved ones, how you are to your kids. Like, those things are admirable in our society. Like, oh, he's a good dad.
Yeah.
But that's not like what people are like, oh, you know, this guy, man, he's just like, look at what he's got, look at what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
and so attaching yourself to like your success in the business and the money in the account and all of that, like you're dependent on those things to make you feel valuable as a person.
Yeah.
And like, that's like where I think what you're saying and something I've learned too is like, how can I, no matter what, come back to me, the intrinsic me, my internal me, and that is what the value holds. Nothing else outside of me holds value. These are just things I get to play with and have
100%.
fun with, right?
100%. It's like you play it's a fucking game. When you realize the game and it doesn't really fucking matter, it makes things so much easier because it's like, here's the game we're paying. Okay, we pay this amount in taxes. We got to move this over here. We got to get this product. We got to market this way.
Relieves the stress.
It relieves the
too,
stress,
right?
you know. But I will say
At
one
times
thing.
You can't help it, but
the one thing with like city chapters is like say on a P&L, you're not like making a shit ton of money. Maybe you, I don't know, but what
I'm
you
not.
do see, but what
you know that,
but what you do see, I don't want to make any assumptions, but like what you do see is like you see the brand out there.
Yeah.
And this is what I dealt with is like people see it out there and they're like, oh, Bobby, what's up, man? That thing's supposed to be so good, fucking city chapters and zoomies.
Yeah.
And then it's really easy to hide behind the success, regardless of the money, of the success of the brand being out there because people see, they ultimately would tie the success of a brand to my happiness. And so when I'm at my darkest days, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, man, things are great. Yeah, we're in REI. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we just hired this. We just did this shoot. And it's easy to hide because everybody's surface level. And I have like 10 people that are close to me and like everybody else, you know, outside of like my family and stuff. It's like, you don't really know what's going on with me or truly care. They're just like, oh yeah, like you own the Great PNW. And to my mind, like, like it's just so silly, you know? And like, but it's, for me, it was so easy to hide behind that. So you just hide behind like, because people think the brand's out there, so you're happy. You're like, fucking miserable. And some of the people around me definitely could see this, just like weight I was carrying around. And
do you still have? I mean, we all do, but I mean, would you say there's times where you're miserable now,
Never.
like currently?
Never.
How long has it been since you've like really kind of felt like you were in a miserable state of mind?
Fuck.
Years?
5 or 6 years.
Since like the accident almost, or
Probably about that. Yeah. I mean, to get like super deep, like I got divorced, you know, I don't want to go too deep on the podcast, but that was like,
we don't need
that
to.
relationship, like your relationships are super, super important. Like, even now when you think about like, what are your superpowers? Like, what are you really fucking good at? What do you know that you can lean into? Like one of my superpowers that nobody else will ever have in business, I have an amazing wife. Like my wife, Emily, like I can't do what I do. I mean, you know her, like she's a fucking animal when it comes to like life in general. Like she's so zen and chill and she keeps our family on point. We have a shared calendar. She's super organized and
she is very organized.
It's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. And I think so like that's like my number one superpower that I can tap into. Like another one is like, and you know, it's funny because Emily and I just kind of started this practice. I know you and I were kind of talking about this the other week, but it truly is how I've kind of mentally lived. But it's nice to verbalize, like literally in the morning. It's like life is perfect.
Life is perfect.
Life is perfect. There's
life
like
is perfect.
I get hit, like we were talking about. Get hit by a car. Like that's not bad. That's just life. Anything that's like people say that's shitty or how'd you overcome this? And you have to anything that could be like seen as hard in life or a challenge or even to the point of somebody fucking died. That's an irreplaceable thing, and it will be hard to work through.
Yeah.
But you go through any setback or any hard thing, that mindset of like, it's an opportunity. It's a fucking opportunity. And the darkest things like, oh man, the economy is fucking just tanking, right? Like, it's so much harder to do this or that. But when you see them as opportunities and not like, oh, this is so hard, because then you can spiral. Like, how are we going to do this? No, you have a plan of action. And what's rad is when you think about the times you've grown most as a person, it's in hard times.
Or adversity, yeah.
It's not going to happen when you're having the best day snowboarding. You're not going to change as a person. You're like, fuck yeah, that's because I just happen to have a great day.
Yeah.
But like, it's in those hard times, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I get this opportunity. I get this opportunity to grow as a person because now I get to cross these bridges that like, getting hit by that car. I'm like, fucking bring it on. I got hit by a fucking car and I was able to keep my shit together.
Yeah.
Like, and not that I want that shit, but like, you have to see those challenges as opportunities because then you cross them and then you're like, okay, what was once a hard challenge is now a fucking piece of cake. If that happens again, not only are you going to be able to recover faster or move quicker, it's going to be more inexpensive because you already paid to fix that problem before.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, you already know the solution. So that's like that also much was like up here, like, oh fuck, this happened. It's now like way down here. So when you really just like when I approach my day, comes to like just being grateful. It's like life's perfect, man. It's not fucking easy all the time, but like it's fucking perfect because then it makes how we talked about removing yourself from the business. It removes your happiness from things being situational, right? You get in a car wreck. If your emotions are tied to that, well, fuck, some jackass who backs into you gets to have the energy to ruin your day. Like, fuck that guy. Like, I don't want that to ruin my day. I'm not going to let it ruin my day. So it's like, you don't even you only have this much energy in a day. Decide where it's going to fucking go. And you'd hope it'd be for gratefulness and pouring into others and your craft and what's allowing you to thrive. Because if you get backed into, I mean, fuck, some jackass hit me a few months ago. But I didn't give it my fucking, and this dude's, just getting all worked up and like lying to the police saying all this. It was insane. Ended up being 100% his fault. Had to pay for it. And I was like, dude, just stop, man. I got like it's one of those guys, I got shit to do.
Yeah.
It's what you have insurance for. But you just brought all this energy for this fucking fill the paperwork out and let's go.
Let's go, yeah.
We got other shit to do.
Yeah.
So it's like that's where you have to remove your happiness from being situational. And it's not saying like every day is fucking amazing and great, but like then those things don't knock you off course because it's like if you truly it's like, hey, life's perfect.
Yeah, I think there's a few things to tie in off of that, and I see you this way. You don't really like overly get excited about any of your big wins. You stay, which is good though because like you don't put, like you said, this attachment to your big wins and making you happy. You're like, wow, that just is what it is.
This is what we do. Yeah.
This is what we do. And then when things are hard, you don't get overly depressed or low in that energy about it. You just stay even. And, like masters of life, that's what they do. They don't tie themselves to the big wins or to the big losses. It's not me. It's not what I am. It's just what I'm going through, but it's not who I am.
Yeah.
And like, if you can create that separation of realizing like this big win is actually not who I am, and this big loss is actually not who I am, then you can stay more even through those times. I've had a really hard time learning that, but I've came a long ways. Much more acclimated to that, and not letting my anger was like one of the big ones. I still deal with it, but I can catch myself and not let it run completely out of control now. And but you know, people like you have helped me learn that, and just reading books have helped me learn that. But like what you're explaining is, you know, comes from a lot of knowledge that you've gained through life experience. But I've gained that through life experience too, but I've seen it in books, which has helped me like understand things that I've gone through to get to those places. But another point too is like you're kind of in the, like you mentioned Zen, but like you're kind of the person that's in the here and now. Like you like you said, like I'm not gonna give this guy who hit me with that car, and I'm not going to tie my energy into the past and keep my energy in that past. I don't have time to give it energy anymore. I have to be here. I have to be now, you know, and that's where you kind of are a lot of times. It's just like here now, you know, like.
Totally. I think, you know, part of it's like tomorrow's not promised. You know, you assume, you're going to wake up, it's going to be a day, right?
Right.
But like, and that goes back to like, business is a game. I'm not saying it's an easy game, but it's easy to see all the pieces. It's hard to implement. It's hard to find your place. It's hard to break through and create a business that lasts, right? And even there's a lot of things with that, but you can figure it out. It takes time and hard work. But life is also a game. Nobody knows why we are here, right? But when you also think like, life is also a game, and it can fucking end tomorrow. Yeah. And I better sure as hell be grateful for what I have today. Yeah. You know, and I truly, I mean, I believe in God. I really believe, you know, in divine intervention and all that stuff. I've had those things happen in my life, and
definitely I have too. You
know, do I pinpoint it to one single religion or anything like that? No, you know, but like, that's where like, I know you and I have talked about this, and I post about this publicly sometimes, and my team knows this. I have about a 6 to 8 week cadence where like I'm able to just sprint, and then I just break. I break, and not in like a super bad way. A lot of it truly comes from being so grateful and overwhelmed. It's a combo of like all the things I have going on, and being really thankful for, not being thankful for all the things we have going on, but just the sense of like, here's what we have to accomplish. I'm really grateful for all these things. And it's just a big mix. And it typically happens usually in the gym or usually when I'm driving or like on a run. And it breaks me to the point where like I'm crying. But what's great, it always brings me back to this place of like just deep thankfulness. Yeah. And it's almost like this boom. And I always have some type of like mental breakthrough to where it's like, oh, I could, if I was wired a certain way, I'd be like, oh, fuck, I just had a mental breakdown. I can't handle my shit. Yeah. It's like, actually, I can handle my shit. I do for every single day. Look all the stuff I have going on. And it truly comes from this like abundance of life that I've designed my life around. So like when things get stressful, I only have myself to blame. When things are great, I only have myself and my team around me to be thankful for. You know, so sometimes when those things just mash up, I just have this crazy, I can do nothing more than literally be on my hands and knees and cry and like be thankful. Yeah. And it's great. I fucking love it. It's not like the funnest thing in the moment, but like I can breathe. It's like getting a bloody nose. You get a bloody nose, it's like fuck, and then your nose is like cleared out and you can breathe so good. Yeah, I mean it's awesome.
I've actually, man, I've needed a good cry for a long time. Yeah. It's, you know, since my dog Koa died, I cried that day a lot. But then I just kept moving forward. And I don't think I really dealt with losing him still. And like, cause this was like, I feel like a soulmate of mine, dude. Like this dog was like just such a special person in my life. And last night, I took some plant medicine and like just had a lot of
What was
healing.
the plant medicine? Just so
Psilocybin.
oh yeah, I don't know much about it, but
Yeah, it's a mushroom.
oh okay.
Mushrooms, special magic mushrooms, whatever. Because, for me, man, I've really found that mushrooms help me heal a lot.
Totally.
Like, I can't explain it.
You told me this years ago. You were
Yeah.
telling me this stuff.
And
yeah.
I've like, I
huge.
actually did this in my room. I like repainted my room a few months ago.
Yeah.
I have it very zenned out. It's
Cool.
very, like, I got my native, settings right. And like, and I've never really like just went into a room and took mushrooms by myself. I'm
Yeah.
usually with friends.
Yeah.
I'm outside in the woods usually.
Yeah.
But like I felt so comfortable in my room doing
cool.
this, and I like for whatever reason your mind gets scared to go on this journey by yourself,
Jeez, yeah.
or just to do mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's always there.
Yeah.
It's like what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
right? And
I'm saying yeah, like I know, but I have no idea.
Yeah, but the last time that I took them was out at the cabin. I was by myself out there, and I had this very healing experience. I can't explain it other than like you feel all this stress and all this stuff that you're dealing with in business and life and whatever doubts you have, whatever. It just like cleanses you.
Yeah.
And you feel connected to source,
Like, do you feel like you kind of
You just feel like you
feel life for like maybe what it is, and all those things kind of
you just feel like
fall
you
away?
belong.
Yeah.
Like you just
That's cool.
feel like I've been feeling
cool.
really disconnected for years, and when I do mushrooms, it can, and as I've gotten older and especially with the last few years, I take them in a more spiritual ritual aspect than like drinking and taking
Yeah.
mushrooms and like
Jesus.
doing that whole thing, right? That's how I started
Sounds
doing it.
gnarly.
It was. And I had good times doing it. But
Yeah.
now I have more of a respect and I call it plant medicine. I don't call it shrooms,
I've heard
like,
you mention plant medicine and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me what the fuck is plant medicine. I assume
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
it was.
yeah,
But could be weed. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So, anyway, I somehow I got to my phone and I've kept like pictures of Koa in its own file, and I
Yeah.
got to this picture
Yeah.
of Koa,
Oh man.
and it was a lot, and I knew it was gonna be a lot.
that's heavy.
And but I felt like I was with him. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like he was like the phone just like
Yeah.
brought him to life again, right? And it was it's a trip because
Yeah.
you're
Holy
hallucinating,
shit.
of course, but
Yeah.
I like, I think I needed another cry. I've been feeling it, and there was other things I think I was crying about, but
Yeah.
just like to cry,
Oh, dude. So good.
to actually cry was just like felt so good, man.
Dude, especially
because
if it's been like years.
I can't cry a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'll get a tear, but that's it. You know what I mean?
You can see nothing
Yeah.
over here. It's not a tear.
Well, no, I want to. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I need to cry, and it just
Yeah.
won't happen, right?
Yeah.
But man, the mushrooms and the cleansing and
Oh,
the
man,
healing
that's-
last night, it just like came out of me,
Yeah.
man. I was crying like a little baby, but it was so good, man.
Yeah.
so good, and
No,
I
it's
feel so much
important.
better.
It's-
Have
it's-
gotten that. It was, like that pent up energy that just needed
yeah.
to be released, man.
Oh,
and
totally.
felt really good.
Oh, hell yeah. It feels good. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You took something away from that, and like, no, it's huge.
Yeah. Well, I do. Speaking of Koa, R.I.P. to my dog Koa, and then I want to talk and take a moment to remember Spokane legend Jess Ross Kelly.
Yeah.
Let's do a moment of silence for him.
Dude.
I met Jess a few times. He was friends with mutual friends. You were a good friend of his. And Jess passed away in 2019 during a climbing expedition in Canada. He was the North Face climber, a legend in the climbing community, was the youngest person at the time to climb Everest when he was like young, 14, 15,
No,
16.
he wasn't quite that young. He was right,
18?
probably 18. He was right out of
18?
high school.
He was
Yeah.
really young.
Yeah,
And the
really
youngest
young.
person at that time to have ever climbed Everest.
Dude, I remember him coming back and like showing
Yeah.
us photos of like dead bodies, like frozen black,
Yeah.
that just got left up there.
They just leave bodies up there.
Yeah. And he when he talked
insane.
about it,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I went to wrestling camps that were harder. He's like, he was just excited to
Yeah.
get to the top. You're like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
It was nothing for him. You know?
I think
I'm sure it was really, I know he got an infection in his tooth at one point. And like
Wow.
creased back down. So he had some adversity for sure. But like when he's 18, 19 and talking about it, he was like fucking gung ho and like made
so
it happen,
cool.
you know?
His dad worked
John,
out at the Spokane club, and I was like, my mom had a membership there,
Yeah.
and so we would work out there. So like, I didn't know Jess at that time, but it was like all around the club, like, oh, this kid that works out here just climbed Mount
Dude, I
Everest,
remember
youngest kid ever. Like,
I think maybe it was Lulu's. I worked at Lulu's ski shop right out of high school, and like
Lulu's.
there was like a poster of him.
Bring
up.
back Lulu's,
Dude,
man.
No fucking art.
I
It had
miss
been there
that
around since,
place.
like, the 70s.
Yeah.
Man.
I got a lot of boards from there.
That was a fun job.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jess, there was like a poster. I think it was like a goggle sponsor or something.
Yeah.
It said, youngest American or something. I was like, whoa, that's wild.
What a legend, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a chance to just like, I mean, we're talking about it kind of right now, but like, how do you remember Jess and what he accomplished in his life?
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, we didn't really like talk much climbing.
Yeah.
I knew some of his accomplishments. I knew what he was up to, but I was really I was close with Allie. Her and I worked together. And I knew Jess. He wrestled in high school. He was a senior and I was a freshman. So yeah, and then we would just, sometimes he'd be out with all of us. But like, honestly, it was really wild because, when we did, it was, even looking back, it's painful to know like what a frantic state Allie must have been in. She called me like the morning that she found out Jess was dead. And like, it was wild. It was because I'm not like super, super close. We're not like best friends with him. Like,
Yeah.
like I wonder, what were you just calling everybody? You must have been, her mind must have been like, go, 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 go. And she's crying. And I'm like, I want to say it was like 10 a.m. I think it was like starting my day. I can't remember. And I was just like, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
Jess just died on a fucking mountain. Allie is now having to figure all his stuff out, like his family. And I just, when I got off the phone, it was just like, how do I help? Like, what do we do? What am I supposed to do with this information? I've never got a phone call like that.
Yeah. It's a
Well,
hard
actually, one time ever when I was in high school, but like, all I could do was just sit there and cry. And then like, honestly, it might have been my wife's idea. I can't remember. But we had a shirt that we released a couple years before called the Ross Kelly, named after Jess because he was a homie. And I'm like, oh, it's called. They had mountains on it.
Yep, I remember it.
So I'm like, let's just do that, and we'll put in a new colorway, and all the money will go, because she's like, well, so I call her. I'm like, here's what we want to do. And she's like, all right, we're going to set up an organization, go in his name. So we sold those T-shirts. I want to say we raised, I might be butchering this by $10,000. So I think it was around $20,000 or so dollars, we were able to donate to the foundation, which was like super, super cool. I'm like, well, it's the fucking least I can do. You know, like I have this platform. How do I get this in front of people? So that, I mean, I still talk with Allie. Allie just did a shoot for us like last week. You know, she's awesome.
Yeah, I know Allie. She has mutual friends of mine that I used to hang out with a lot more than I do now. But that's where I kind of got to meet Jess a couple times, and I met him. The first, like, we'd see each other. I didn't really talk to him too much until one day at Schweitzer. We were all up there, and me and Jess just ended up talking for quite a bit. Yeah. And I got to, get to know him over a few hours. Dude. Yeah, he was super cool, humble. We were talking about all sorts of different things. And I wasn't drinking at the time, and he wasn't drinking, I don't think, or he doesn't really drink a lot. because he was very present and
Yeah.
I was too. And
That's
like
cool.
everybody else was faded. So me and him were just kind of like,
Yeah.
hanging out,
Totally.
whatnot. But then, it was like a few months later, he passed away. It wasn't even, because that was like late in the season. And so then, I think he passed away in like April or something. So it was like after I got to know him,
it was in April. For sure.
a couple months later, he passed away.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to, keep his legend alive, in any way that I can, because I mean, just what an amazing athlete to come from Spokane.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, and he lived his life to the fullest.
And he knew, like Allie would say, she's like, anytime he was leaving on like a big climb,
it
would, like the night before at dinner or whatever, it's like he knew what they were getting into.
They knew the risk.
Yeah.
So,
and
it's that's what comes with the sport, and you have to be accepting of it.
Yeah, she actually she just did the shoot for us, and it was pretty interesting insight. It was pretty cool, this kind of bigger picture. So after the shoot, Tim, our photographer, Allie, and then our sales rep was in town. We all just went and had a drink, and somehow it got brought up, and maybe our sales rep Mike Green was asking or something, because he knew of the the T-shirt, right? And but it was cool because Allie's like, she goes, some people aren't supposed to be here and go into an old age. She goes, I think die doing what he loved, and he wasn't supposed to get old. So she was like, she had this piece about it, like, that's just life. Yeah, just like, it's not like, oh, I can't, like it was just like this, had this piece about it, like, he wasn't supposed to get older. Like, wow, that's a really, really, really wise way to view that.
Yeah,
and it's still painful. Yeah,
you can always miss him, but he'll always be with you. And
so yeah.
Well, rest in peace, Jess, wherever you are. I hope you're on some big, nice mountain now. Okay, we're gonna switch it up for some laughs. We got to talk about the Woodsy Bears.
Yeah, totally.
So, I kind of feel those Bears have become the unofficial mascots of the Great PNW.
Oh, dude.
Just because they just, they're everywhere.
Oh, dude.
And they're doing it everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's Bears doing it.
Yeah, dude. That's how did
that all come about?
Oh man, it's funny because I will never live this graphic down. And
nope.
So you probably know Ben Fowler. I mean, he owns Kindness, a video production company, and he called this is funny. So I literally designed that thing to be like on a hat, and it was just kind of this graphic I set aside. Like, oh, it's pretty funny. Kind of have a double take, and then Lamar, the billboard company's like, hey, we need your artwork for this billboard that's going up in a few weeks. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, so I just boom threw it up there, and then it comes back for like approval real quick. I'm like, holy crap, I got approved. So Ben Fowler, I sent it to Ben. I was like, because he's got him and I have like the same sense of humor, a lot of dick jokes and stuff. And I was like, so I believe I sent it to Ben, and but he comes back. Maybe we're having a conversation about it, and Ben's like, if you run this, he goes, that's all anybody's going to talk about. Like, he goes, I'm going to walk into a meeting like 5 years from now wearing a hat, and they're like, oh, the Great PNW, the one that did the bear billboard. Dude, and I hate to say it, he's like, right. I'm like, because that was 2018, I think. We did that. Dude, people fucking love this thing. And we just keep putting on more stuff.
The underwear.
We just did the underwear for Valentine's Day. Yeah. And I'm like,
awesome.
But it's like, okay, whatever. It's going to make us money. Fuck, I'll put them whatever you want, But yeah, so that thing, it was up for about 24 hours, got taken down. Funny enough.
Went viral in that time, though.
Crazy, dude. Yeah. It was Creme 2's #1 commented and shared post on Facebook of all of 2018. That was the news of Spokane, Yeah. And so that was it. It was on a billboard. There's two bears fucking, and yeah. It's honestly all I really want to talk about. I think that's it.
Okay. That's what it is, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some laughs. So, amongst all the amazing things the Great PNW is a part of, what specific aspect brings you the most joy and fulfillment?
Oh, I mean, it's easy. That's how it affects everybody around me.
Yeah.
Like that's why when I look at, it's hard to say what I've built. Like I do know. I mean, I'm very aware of like if I get taken out of the equation, like this stuff, like with the new snack company we launched, with Bison Printing, with HHR Properties, Great PNW, and some other companies we're launching. Like I get that it doesn't happen without me, but like in the same way, it doesn't happen without my entire team. And like that's what I'm probably like, most proud of, if that's the question.
Yeah,
like, is like how it affects everybody around me, how I'm able to affect the lives of my friends around me, to where I'm able to provide them jobs where they thrive. They get to do the shit they want to do. They have full benefits. They have 401ks. They have a really relaxed, chill setup. I mean, we have the golf simulator. We have the mini ramp, like basketball hoop. We just put in a little putting green, which is pretty rad too back
nice.
there, and photo studio and all that stuff. Like the gym. I guess if we got a full fucking gym, I forgot about that.
PDR, baby.
Yeah. So.
Or no, PhD.
PhD, the Powerhouse
PDR.
Dojo.
What's PDR? PhD is what it is.
Yeah.
Get your PhD.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Yep. Go get your PhD. So I think that's the biggest one, is how it affects. And I love my friends, everybody around me, right? But like how it affects my family.
Yeah.
Like how it affects my kids and my wife and their ability to do life in a certain way that's different than if I work 9 to 5. And truthfully, it's like my work ethic has like always stayed the same. And whether I was working for somebody or doing my own thing, well, actually I shouldn't say that. I always worked really hard. But once it's like your own thing and you see the direct output of like what you put in and how if I can day in and day out put in the hard work and make smart decisions, like that affects my family and it affects the people around me, and like I like selfishly, like I want to be the one that people turn to. It's like, okay, how do I solve that problem for you? How do I make this work? How do I make that connection, whether it's a business thing, like whatever that is, like how do I enrich the lives of the people around me? How do I inspire the people around me? Like I don't expect anybody to work as hard as I do. I mean, one, I don't know, and this isn't some fucking ego thing, but like I don't know anybody who works the way I do. Like, and I will like just say I'll fucking run circles around anybody. Like, again, that's not like my fucking ego. It's because I've put in the work and I know that about myself.
It's true. I mean, from what I've seen,
like, I know what my day is. I know when I wake up. I know when I go to bed. I know everything that happens in between for my kids. Like most people don't know that. Like I'll wake up at 5. I'll do work. I'll go to the gym, and then I'll come home before the kids even wake up or they're just getting up. Do breakfast, walk them to school, and then go back to work. You know, like a lot of people just think, oh, he probably just gets up and just goes to work and just works all day. It's like I do. I work a lot, but like I put a lot of time into my family too.
Yeah,
and
trying to balance it and
I think that's be able to put my family in the neighborhood we want to be in. You know, all those things is, and even like just one real quick, like I was super happy we were able to like make this pivot. Obviously it was kind of a business thing, but like, so Ramsey and I were going to Vegas on Monday for like a work trip, and like, and Josh and I were talking through some stuff that he was designing, and I was like, and Josh's like, I'd really like to go. It's called Magic, about Magic. He's like, I'd really like to go. It'd really help. And like,
for sure.
So I go, fuck yeah, let's just get you a ticket. Let's do it. Like, let's go. Like,
it's smart to bring him, as your designer, definitely.
So he can see kind of the end goal. Because right now I'm just telling him, here's what we need designed. Here's what you designed. But I was like, let's just get him there. And like, Is that going to probably cost us another $1,000? Yeah,
But how much more will help you create product creatively, right?
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be like, oh,
Yeah, totally.
light bulb moment.
Oh yeah. The ROI on him going from a business standpoint
Exactly.
is awesome.
Yeah.
My personal happiness from having one of my best friends there, can't measure that.
Right.
I mean, I've been to Vegas with Josh. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, of course.
That's an even bigger ones. Yeah, the business, the numbers are going to work themselves out. If I make smart decisions, if we just keep doing what we're passionately, we're pursuing that, and we're loving people, and we're good to people, we're not selfish, the money's going to work itself out. If the hard work's there, and like just having being in a position to do that, to take care of employees and friends, it's the most gratifying thing I can do. It's like even, we're talking like, oh, like, do you feel like you have a bigger purpose, or like what's going on with like, with the brand and stuff? It's like, not overly with the brand, not for, we're providing, I'm just going to talk about the Great PNW specifically. Like we're providing a product that it's not saving lives. Nobody needs another fucking hat, t-shirt, beanie, jacket. You don't need it. We live in America and we have abundance upon abundance. You do not need anything we sell. For 10 years, people bought products that they do not need. We're a want.
Yeah.
And I know that. Mm-hmm. But doesn't mean we can't do good for people's lives. Mm-hmm. So like, are we enriching people's lives? Are we giving people a brand and a product and a design that they're like, yeah, this feels like me. And they're happier that they finally have something they can identify with. Like, awesome. If we can be that, if we can make some fucking money doing it, hell yeah. Let's do that. Let's make sure our customers feel great and overall, but like, I don't interact with my customers, like unless I'm at the store, but even then I'm not working the store. I'm just there, probably just doing something random while somebody else is helping customers. But like when it's all online, so it's like my immediate is like everybody closest around me. Like, how do I take care of everybody around me? And that's like my biggest, the number one stress or like fear that I have like in life is that I'm falling short for somebody. I mean, that's the stuff that'll be paralyzed. And then I feel like if I make the wrong decision, it's going to affect somebody else's life in a negative way, and I might not even be aware of maybe my tone of voice or an offhand, like, oh yeah, I don't know about that idea. Or just blowing something off that it might hurt somebody's feelings. And it's like, in a way that I truly do care. But at the same time, it's like we talk about, people are fucking soft. Toughen the fuck up. Yeah, there's some of that. But like, but yeah, the number one thing is like that I know I fucking grind. I know I work really hard, and it's exhausting at times. I also know when to like let off the gas, but like it's extremely rewarding. It's extremely rewarding to be able to like sit here with you and like just talk about this shit. So what else would I rather be doing? Not really much at this point. Like, at some point I'll just be golfing a lot more, and working less, but like, I don't want to. I fucking love this stuff. Like, I love it,
Yeah, you love it. That's something I've definitely picked up on too. Just seems like that, like, this is just what you do. Like, it's not even like, I don't know, a question to you, like what you're gonna do or how you, like what you're gonna do to just whatever you see you want to get done. It's like, that's what I do. I'm gonna get it done. Like,
I will say it hasn't always been that way. It took like years to build that self-confidence and be like, oh yeah, like, we were talking the other day. Like, it took 2 years of doing the Seahawks collab. Like, it took me being on the field throwing a football around, like, for like to where I even was like, oh damn, yeah, we fucked the Seattle Seahawks. This is crazy. Like, and it actually did, like, holy shit, like the weight of that finally hit me. Like,
right. It's pretty wild to just be down there on the field throwing a football around.
And that's what it took for me to actually be like, look what you're doing. You should be stoked. And we do celebrate all of our wins. That's one of our core values is to celebrate. And but yeah, like I'm always just like on the next thing. That's just dope.
Celebrate, but we're moving.
Yeah, exactly. So so yeah.
All right, we got a few more questions, and then let's see here. What do you think, or what do you feel is the most like epic just thing in the whole career of the Great PNW to transpire? Like, do you have like one thing that's just like out of everything that's happened over the years that's just kind of like, man, that's just amazing to me. Like,
I mean,
there's so many for you to choose from, I would guess.
Be like, it's not even really the accomplishments of the Great PNW, but how much it's forced me to like be me, to have that self-awareness, to have the confidence and
the
just
self-growth.
Like, to really just be able to look at life and like, life's perfect.
Yeah.
And I know.
That's an interesting answer. I like that.
It's one of those things. It's like,
it's you. What's happened to you through the PNW.
Totally. Because then it allows me to be my best self, to start these other businesses and like use my knowledge of business and creativity to help everybody else's life around me be better. Like the fact that my best friends can go to the doctor and not have to think about it. Like they're taken care of, it's awesome. It's fucking sweet to know that they're saving for their future, and I'm able to match that within their 401k. Like that stuff's huge.
It's an intelligent answer. I like that.
So that's kind of that's the biggest thing of it is that it's like, and it's like that's why it's so addictive. Like talk about numbers and money. So I love the numbers. I love it. I'm just extremely passionate about that shit.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love money? Because it's like, life is really fucking hard being broke. Life's really fucking hard to be on a budget too. But like my home life, like and even with the business, like we're on a budget. It's not easy, but like you choose your hard. You want to be hard and kind of like wishy-washy with your life and not put in the time and not budget. And I mean, that's the biggest thing. A lot of people are not self-aware of their own budget. And even myself at times, because we don't want to be. We don't want to be like, I can't afford that. That's a little bit out of reach. You don't want to tell yourself, son, you'll put something on a credit card that you can't afford. Like, and that's a whole other conversation. But, so yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, I feel like I'm way off topic now. But
No, I like where you're going. But essentially you're saying, I actually realized this too about business, like starting a business and working on a business, growing a business. Yeah. That's all about working on you,
100%,
growing you, bettering you, figuring out these problems that your own business present, because it's only up to you to figure them out. You have no other assistance.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yep.
You got to figure these things out. So totally. That intrinsic requirement of starting a business is only going to help increase. Well, if you allow it to, if you take the right approach, if you don't give up, I think that's being the biggest thing, is just don't ever give up. I mean, and maybe at some point I'm
just going to stop right there. Kind of. You got to quit. There are things that you got to quit.
That's what I was about to say. Like at some point, maybe you need to switch positions.
Because you can be passionate about making the wrong decisions. Like I've done that. You just got, and it's like, this isn't going to work as much as you fucking want it to.
Yeah.
But then it's like, all right. And then you learn from it. Like, all right, I'm okay with shelving all this. But at first people are like, well, that's a failure. You're like, well, it's not. Because look how much I learned from doing this. And now I learned the ability to like, let it go,
Yeah. I guess true, you may need to quit a business, right? And I have like third kind of peril. I was just like, this one's it's not working. It's not going to be the one.
Yeah.
But I guess the biggest thing is like, obviously just don't ever give up on yourself. Like whatever you go through, even if you have failures, they're only failures if you don't learn anything from it and you refuse to.
Dude,
like,
I know what things, dude. Failures turn it into education.
Yeah.
The second you learn from it.
Yeah.
And cool. You paid for that education with your time, your emotions. And I mean, there's been times I've fucked up and I had to write checks for tens of thousands of dollars to fix that fuck up.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you have to financially pay for it too.
Yeah.
But like,
you learn that way
failures,
for sure.
It kind of goes back to like life's perfect. Dude, there are no failures.
Yeah.
It's a failure if you keep fucking doing that over and over.
Over and over.
Yeah, you're fucking up. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. It's like you learn from those failures and then you've just you're just like that much stronger, that much smarter, that much wiser. And you're like, fuck, how is that a failure? I'm like, I know this shit now.
I feel like you can't, and this is something we talked about at the office a few weeks ago too. Like, you can't really fail in business if you're just trying to move forward and you make mistakes you didn't know you were about to make. Like,
'cause you don't know.
That's unavoidable. Like,
Totally.
and you can't like feel and beat yourself up about making that mistake because you didn't know better, you know? And
Truly
so
didn't.
if you look at it as
Yeah.
a failure, it's not going to help you. But if you look at it as a lesson,
Yeah.
you know, like, and that's where that detachment we were talking about earlier before comes to. You are not that mistake. You
100%.
yourself are not that mistake,
Dude.
you know, and I think that's really
100%.
important for your mental health in business because like
dude. You
it is
have
so
to.
easy to
Super
tie
important.
yourself to like, I'm an idiot, you know,
Dude.
that bad talk. Like, I can't believe I did that. Like, you're put like, it's,
Dude.
some of these things are beyond you. You have to like get to a place of understanding it's beyond you sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, you just gotta, all right, I see now. I see now. I see now,
Yeah.
and I can move forward, and I'll see it in the future, hopefully, as well.
Dude,
you
I
know?
100% agree. And what you said about the negative self-talk is so important. Like, can I talk about, like, I haven't been, like, down for like, how many years? Like, I also don't tell myself, like, anything negative. Mm-hmm. Like, I tell myself that I'm fucking awesome, that I'm fucking capable. Sometimes I'm not actively telling myself that, and I'm just kind of, like, cruising by, but I definitely don't tell myself anything negative, like, oh, you fucked up.
Yeah,
Because that stuff...
I'm working on
then
it.
you're beat before you start. That's like
it's
like goes you
so true,
going
man.
into like let's just say a wrestling match. Like, oh fuck, this guy's really good. I don't know. You fucking beat
You're
already,
probably
man.
lost to that.
Yeah, you know. So this is that mental like you're fucking capable. You know, and it's hard because I preach that all the time. Sometimes I don't practice that where it's like kind of when Tim and I were talking about, Tim's our in-house like video photo guy. He's funny and fuck. He's like my right-hand man and so much stuff. But we were talking about 2022. And I don't know how it came up of just like the one thing that rattled me of like all the things, like to where it fucked up a meeting that I got into and like the other account manager thought I was mad at her is like I sent out an email and there was a whole craziness going on. This guy stole some shit and the whole office like when caught him, it was awesome. But anyways, it was a whole other story. But I was sending this email in the middle of all this and I sent out an email with a typo. It went out to, I don't know, 60,000 people. And the whole team, like my fucking demeanor, it fucked up the whole vibe of the office. I had to actually step away from the meeting because I was just so rattled by it. And what sucks is like because of my inability to be like, it's fine, it's not a fucking big deal, like, and move on. And I even had to tell my team it's going to be a few hours till I can get over this. And so it was funny. Then fast forward in like January, Tim and I were like, we were able to laugh about it. It's like, that's what rattled you, a fucking typo. You know, because I feel like I have to keep the bar set so high.
So is a typo just out to a customer base
No, like
email?
60,000 people. Yeah. And it was, I think I forgot a word like the or something. And I sent to a couple of my buddies and like, oh, I didn't even notice. But like but I let it get to me. So
I have that. I can
know?
that can happen to me, man, where like I latch on to something so minute, like
dude.
it's OCD and it can like turn into this whole.
Dude. You have to like stomp that shit out quick or else it can spiral.
It gets bad, yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, that was the one. I'm like, so it affected my entire team.
Weird
It affected
how it
somebody
can
who's
do it,
works for another company.
Yeah.
You know, they were just like, oh, what's up with Joel? And I thinking I'm masking it, but I'm sure the fucking look on my face was just like probably sadness and just like mad at myself. And but you know, later we were able to laugh about it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what rattled me. It's like of all the things, we had a lot of shit go on this last year. That was the thing that did it because that one was all on me. You know, there wasn't. And obviously some other
subconsciously you probably had a lot of other things that were triggered, like that little word that missed was just kind of the trigger to like send you into
it probably was
that,
a ton of other shit
right,
going on.
but that's the thing,
right.
you can pinpoint it being.
Oh
but,
yeah, it's totally. That probably was it.
Because usually on a normal day, you'd have been like, whatever. But that's the thing. Like it can seem like it was just that one little thing. Because I deal with that all the time. But then I'm like,
oh, you peel it back.
Why am I so pissed, man? Like, oh, it's crazy. The mind is so funny, man.
Maybe I just need to get a workout in. Maybe that's all
that's
it
the
is,
biggest one for me, dude. That I've realized, man, over and over. When I don't work out enough, dude, I am mentally a mess.
It just boosts your self-confidence. Like when you get in there, you can put yourself through that pain and move that weight around and just get all that energy out. I mean, these guys know. I try to work out in the mornings because I turn the music on as loud as I can and so I try to do it when nobody's there because they just hate that I fucking just
you banging Kanye or whoever.
You know, I've realized. I mean, I do love Kanye. I know it's like a fucking trigger for some people, but like, dude, Meek. I do. I love Ye. Dude, Meek Mill has been like.
Did I put you on Meek?
You did. You did. You and Grayson both listened to Meek, and I was like,
because I was listening to Meek one day, and you're like, "Who is this, man?" I was like, "It's Meek Mill, man." Yeah,
dude, that's been like probably for like the last 2 months, like hard. Like I had him. I put him in my playlist when we talked back then, and then like. But it's just more and more. I'm like, God, he's so
there was a few
good
months
because he just raps about really kind of positive
overcoming
shit.
And like positive.
Exactly. It's
got the hood essence, but that's what makes it so like tough,
dude.
It makes you like
Then my mom told me that I was born on my mom told me I was born on welfare. I'm like, fuck yeah. I can relate with Meek Mill. You know, it's like that's more street cred. Not only was from Hilliard, we were on welfare.
I was there a few weeks ago. You went to work out and you started bumping Meek. I was like, okay,
it's so good.
I was like, I wonder if he's listening to Meek because I remember we worked out one time. I think we were working out and I put on Meek and you're like, who is this? I was like, man.
It had to been.
Meek he gets you inspired.
Super,
and his way,
inspiring.
his cadence is like,
it's just not really negative or like, it's not like other rap.
Not too much. And it's definitely gotten, I think, less negative after he got out of that one prison stint and he got freed and he kind of is talking after championship album.
Dude,
he's
so
still
good.
a street and he's still talking. I mean, he's from Philadelphia and Northside. Like, it's rough.
Yeah.
But what he's done in his life and like, now sitting at the table with billionaires and like, obviously
crazy.
It's helped change the way he thinks but also still keeping it true to like where he comes from and who he is. But also like he said in this like recent freestyle, like I can't make Nip's mistake. I can't be having businesses in the hood like that.
Yeah.
Cause he's like, it's just, I'll get killed, and so, but
he had one I've been loving. He says something like, I bring a millie to a table and chop it up bass with the boys. And you're like, fuck yeah, that's what I want to do. Because that's, I mean, we even actually do that at the Great PNW. Like we have a quarterly bonus structure. I'm like, look, everybody's eating. Like we're going to go over these numbers. And if we hit these, like everybody gets this money. Like it's not like I'm just sitting in my fucking office crunching numbers and shit and like taking it all home,
Yeah. And then he has this other line like, it's on DC4, I think, or I think it's DC4, but he's like, about 1 milli hit, 2 milli hit, 3 milli hit, 4. And then he's like, then 22 million and then it's roll. And like, he just goes off. But the way he talks about making his first million and then it just started like going crazy after that.
It's this thing, like I truly, like I love money. Like it's everybody, everybody should love money, but like that's also relatable to me. Like I know what it was like to start a company like in my basement printing 15 shirts an entire run, like that's it. Like it wasn't like I've fucking grinded for like, it's crazy going on 10 years now. I'm like, whoa, like, I love it. But like, I'm like, we're still in this kind of doing the same thing. We just have a few more zeros behind everything we're doing, and it gives us the ability to do some really cool shit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't lie, man. When the money's high, I love it. I
100%.
mean, I like as much as like we were saying, like you can't allow that to determine your situational happiness. You can't help but feel pretty good when the money's coming in, you know.
It's fucking awesome. Yeah. You know, and then at the same time, you don't let that.
You just gotta
like,
be careful with
you gotta be
how
smart
you.
there.
Yeah,
Honestly, you have to save your money. I think a lot of people like to fucking blow their money. And trust me, I spend money on stupid shit, but it's also because I work hard enough that I have the ability to have a little extra income. Just like I wouldn't blow money I didn't have. Like that's a big thing. You know, it's like making sure you're not keeping a credit card balance. Like shit like that. You know, it's like, well, if there's a balance on our credit card, like, well, then not going to buy those sneakers, not going to buy this, like, and making sure we're on a budget, you know, which is, it's not fun. That's I hate being on a budget. Like, ask my wife. She's like, knows that about me, you know?
For sure.
Like, I love being able to just go out to dinner all the time, take everybody out to dinner. And like, but it's like, I have to be very self-aware. Like, that's not my lifestyle. I cannot afford to just keep fucking going out to Woodland City all the time, you know? Like,
that's so good.
Can I a few times a month? Yes. Can I fucking do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Probably not in my best interest, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just having that self-awareness.
Yeah, so you mentioned it earlier, but you recently opened up your first flagship store in Kendall Yards.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to have an official Great PNW curated location for the public to experience?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It's another one of those, like, I am actually really, really proud of this store. This is one that definitely, I don't have the full weight of it hasn't hit me yet, but it's also one of those things, like, we had a store in the mall and that was just like nothing for us, like, whatever. But to a lot of people, like, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to put a store in the mall for a year and then have employees and all that stuff. But like, everybody, all of us are like, we know we're going to be doing bigger things, better things. So it was just like, let's do this right now.
Well, and that was supposed to be temporary, right? And then you guys continued because the numbers made sense, right? But
numbers made sense.
But it wasn't like intentional necessarily. So it probably would be kind of hard to, you know, like be super excited about that location. It was just like, oh, we're doing this. It's there.
Yeah.
But this was like curated.
This one is really, really amazing. And Mike Miller built a bunch of the stuff in there, which is awesome. It's one of my best homies, you know, Mike.
Mike's the man.
And then Garrett, who also works in a retail store.
Who's on a European tour right now.
Yeah.
I ran into him. Did he tell you that I came by? Anyway, I ran into him at the store. He was like cutting wood out there.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him and he's like, it's supposed to open up tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's like, and I'm flying out to Europe tomorrow. I'm like, wait, what?
And he's there that day chopping some building.
Yeah, he's like, I'm like, wait, this is crazy. You're here chopping wood.
That's what I said.
Finishing the store.
Yeah.
And tomorrow you're flying out to Europe for a tour.
I understand.
I'm like, holy smokes, bro.
I know. And because we're leading up to opening the store, and which we'll be doing a grand opening on the 18th. So, and I'll let you know, we're doing like a VIP thing I think I told you about on the 17th. Friday.
I've heard you mentioning it, but
17th will be like a VIP thing, friends and family, open to the public, big grand opening Saturday the 18th. Okay. I'm sure this podcast will be way after that, but but anyway, so
we could edit it out.
No,
because y'all ain't coming. No.
So, but yeah, so like with Garrett, like I had all these things in the store that I just had a vision for, which was really hard. I will say it was really hard to get to the point where it all kind of made sense. Actually, what the turning point was, I walked through it with Ben Fife, who does Westward Leather. He was doing some work for us.
Yep.
And I know he's just a creative person. I said, hey, can you just walk through the store and just like talk to us? And he gave me like one idea of like doing the shelf with like this hanging bar thing. And for whatever reason, like that was the thing that like later like brought me to tears. Like, oh fuck, it made me feel like I could accomplish it because it was all in my head and like I had somebody else's input. Whether or not I implemented that or not, which I think we did implement something similar, but like I didn't have to do that one thing, but the fact that he kind of saw a vision, whatever it was, it was great. And so, but yeah, that whole story, I kind of want to do this thing. And I have no background in like design and retail spaces, nothing. But every single piece in there is like custom made, whether that's like Mike Miller and Garrett solely. I'm like, hey, I need you to chop up like 1,600 pieces of wood and glue them to this wall.
Yeah.
He's like, all right. And, you know, all these little pieces are all custom made.
That full deer from far away lovely is sick.
Dude. So this is one of those things too. And what's awesome is I know Chase hooked me up. I later found I didn't know. So Chase, if you listen to this, fucking thank you. He I won't say how much we paid for it, but he definitely gave me a good deal on it. I just because he's a friend and I fucking love his work.
His work is so cool.
I said is I texted him. I said, hey, what's like a dream project of yours that no client has given you? He sends me a picture back of like that buck without anything on it, just like the skeleton of it. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like I didn't even ask the price. Like, I'm like, if that's my buddy and that's his dream and that's what he wants to do, you can't really put a dollar amount on it. And I knew he's going to be fair. Like I didn't think he was gonna be like, oh, $50,000 or something, right?
Right.
And it came back and it's fucking beautiful and it is. And I didn't think it was going to be, but now it's kind of one of the centerpieces, you know, under that huge ass light that's up there. And like, yeah, like every piece of that store has been pretty curated, but we're still dialing in. I'm going to go there after this. I got to tweak stuff and get it a little more tight. But I still got to build some more. Like, and thank God for like going back to how I grew up, like wrench on motorcycles and stuff, like, and welding and doing all that stuff.
Yeah,
like
the skill sets.
Yeah. Got a lot of hand holding from my brother and my dad, but like, but my dad has a big ass shop. He bought all the metal and stuff. We just welded it all up, and but it's nice to know that I have family that is totally down to help me out. They can see what I need to do and like help me get there. You know? Yeah. So that whole store is just like I see it, and I know the labor that went into like that, and that thing, and that thing, and it's beautiful. All my homies, you know, the floor, my buddy Chase Hooper, you know, you probably know Hooper. He did that whole floor. I just kind of like, hey, I want it to look kind of water and it's kind of organic. Fucking week later, busted out. And same thing, like I didn't ask the price. He didn't fucking tell me. It was way more than I thought, but he did say, he's like, dude, this is like half what I'd charge anybody else. I'm like, oh, I appreciate it. You know? But it's one of those things like it all works itself out in the wash. Yeah. Like you give without expectations. To some extent, you know, you give. Yeah. You know, when the time comes, like you got to call on somebody, you would really hope they wouldn't be like, oh, fuck you. You know, and I know that about myself. I know I've never burned anybody. I know I'm not bad to anybody. You know, I don't have overly high expectations of the people around me. You know, the bar is set high for my employees and stuff, but they know it and they step up. Like they crush it. Everybody there fucking crushes, you know? Yeah. It's like, that's who I want to roll with. Like they know, like, this is how we have to do things. And it's great because everybody's growing and thriving and learning. I don't expect it to be perfect. That's the bar. The bar is perfection. But if we fuck up or it comes short, like we give each other grace through it and everybody works really hard. That's the biggest thing. It's like you've heard the saying like hard work trumps talent all day. Fuck yeah, it does. Fuck yeah, it does. When you have somebody who's really talented and they're a hard worker, fucking game over. Like there's nothing they can't do. Like, nothing. You know, especially if they want to learn. That's a big one. If somebody's willing to learn and they're a hard worker, fuck, that person will be an employee for like, until they figure, like, who knows? I shouldn't even say an employee. They're going to be like who they want to be if they stay that course, which may be, like, I truly hope that I'm able to provide a place that's like, oh, you crush it. You love being part of this team indefinitely. You retire from here. Like, that is I would fucking love it to hang out with my homies in this exact group. I know it might not be the reality. They might want to start another business. They might want to go do something else. I might be able to invest in them to go do this other thing. That'd be a beautiful thing. Like, we'll replace them. Wouldn't be the same. But like, I can talk on this for hours. But
yeah, I know what you mean, man. Yeah. You want to, of course, create an environment where, you know, there's a lot of people that don't want to own their own business.
No, totally. They don't.
So, I mean, and that it's not for everybody. Not everybody should start a business.
100% agree.
And so, you know, being able to provide a place where you can create a long-lasting environment and friendship and place for somebody to work at that they love, like that's the dream. Like you want your employees to love working at your business. Yeah. Like if that's not your goal, then I don't know what you're doing.
If the goal's money,
from my perspective,
and like, squeeze as much work out of somebody. I mean, we know places that will do that. They only see dollar signs when they see employees, but it's like, you know, and I mean, there are times when I do miss working at 7 too, because it was like, here, go shoot this video. Here's like your project. And there was such a sense of calm and just like, here's what I got to do, to now my life's like a fucking machine gun going off in one hand. Like it's fucking going everywhere, you know, and I'm trying to rein it in.
Yeah.
But like just
Yeah.
thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but that's where it is really nice. And I get it's not for everybody. And it's really fucking hard. You have to make smart decisions. You got to get your money right. There's just so many aspects that like could eventually make you not in business, you know?
Yeah.
But the fruits of that, like I've never done anything more fulfilling other than watching my kids grow up, you know,
Yeah.
outside of being able to do this really creative thing with like people I've known for a majority of my adult life, you know.
Yeah.
It's
wild.
fucking beautiful. Like when
Yeah.
like Grayson and I, it's fucking laughable. Like him and I, like we joke, like, God damn, we're doing the same thing we were doing when we were teenagers.
Yep.
This is hilarious. Like, it's just, how's this real? It's like life's perfect, man.
Yeah,
It's like
life's perfect.
you know. So
I like that. Life's perfect, man. We're just gonna end it right there.
Let's do it.
Life's perfect.
life's perfect, man.
Only other thing is, any big events for
I know. I
2023.
saw that question on there.
Any you want to drop?
Yeah, obviously we have our normal stuff with the Rainier party and some other stuff. We have a 10-year thing going on, but I know this question's going. I think if we do this rail jam thing at the pavilion I think together, will be sweet. That you and I were talking about.
Oh, you brought that one up. Okay.
I figured
Now we gotta make it
that's where
happen.
this question was going.
Oh no, it wasn't. I wasn't gonna even bring that up.
Oh shit. Okay. I read into
We
it
could
too
edit
much.
it out. I mean, I
No.
wasn't sure if we wanted to.
No, honestly, that's probably one of the most exciting ones. You know, we just had a meeting this morning with Hoop Fest and Riley and Rachel over there, and they're doing such a good job. We're excited to do a collab again. We've done it the last few years, but with COVID, it's been kind of weird. But like, so we have all the normal Inlander events, the winter party, but that is something I really want to.
Was the Rainier one first?
Rainier event, it looks like, is about April 28th, I think. We have a golf tournament June 10th.
June 10th. The golf tournament's huge if you can get in it.
Yeah.
I think it's like
If
invite only.
it's invite only, so
Invite
like,
only, yeah. So you gotta break your
unless
match.
you were in it
I didn't
last
get
year.
invited last year. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Wait, but you don't golf.
I know. That's what you told me.
Okay.
I was like, I would have today.
Okay.
I would have today,
All
man.
right. Well, see, this is the
I'm
hard
just-
part, dude.
I'm teasing,
I want to
brother.
let's make it happen. You just have to be on me. You have to just like keep texting me because I guarantee, like other people, like hey, I want to be on the team. They'll text me.
Yeah,
I want to be on the
yeah,
team
yeah.
I probably was like, oh yeah, totally. That was like 6 months ago. Like
I don't care if I'm just a designated golf driver.
Oh
dude.
hell yeah!
Like,
Good, we got some golf carts. So, yeah. So there's that stuff. But no, I think the rail jam under the pavilion, I think it'll be super cool.
Yeah.
If we can make that shit happen.
Oh, man.
dude, how amazing! I mean, think about that at night, lit up.
yeah, it'll be
It's
insane.
like a Red Bull level looking shit. It'd be sweet.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, I guess we're putting it out there.
Yeah, put it out there. So
Gonna figure it out.
Christina at the Inlander. Oh, actually, I did talk to Christina
Oh, you
briefly
did?
about it. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was it. The conversation didn't go too far.
Okay.
I think they need somebody to underwrite their insurance or something.
Something,
But
yeah.
something that's totally
doable.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So we'll figure it out.
Awesome, man.
We're just going to say.
All right. Well, Pavilion Rail Jam
There we go. Yeah.
2023,
Yep.
following the Snowlander event. That's what we're aiming for.
There we go.
We just want to bring in the heavy hitters that are rail dogs and have a crazy competition and just bring the city out,
Yeah.
you know, for the shredders. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. And I'm glad you were
We'll get some sponsors.
dropping it. Because I was like, do we,
No, I think we do it. I think 100%. I think it'll be awesome. I think it'll be like unreal.
It'll be unreal.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Life is perfect.
Life is perfect.
Love it, man. Thank you for your time.
All right. Love you, brother.
That's Joel Barbour. I'm Bobby J, and this is City Chapters Podcast.